Hello and welcome to a new video. Today's video took a while for me to actually sit down and film this video, but it's an A-level psychology advice, general advice video, kind of a part 2 to a video that I've already done. I decided to film a second one because I was looking at that video. There were things that I could have talked about in more detail, or some things that maybe I didn't mention, and I wanted that video to be as informative as possible. So I thought I will film another one, and hopefully this and that first video kind of just summarize everything. But I'm also thinking of filming a third video which will focus more on 16-mark questions and exam paper stuff, because I did talk about 16-mark questions and essay type questions, so I thought I'll also do a video like that. So if you're interested in that video, then please be patient, it should be out sometime. And yeah, and if you haven't watched the first video, then I will link it in the description so that you can watch it. And if you want any more videos about A-level psychology, specific videos, please let me know, because I could focus more on that if you're struggling with that, so please let me know. I still have all my A-level psychology notes and posters and essay plans in a folder, and I thought there is a way I can make that useful for other people. So I've decided to sell digital psychology notes. If you want more information, click the description. I've got it all sorted out there. I'm hoping to sell the 16-mark question plans, any posters that I've got. I think that's all. Prices as well, you can probably see it on the screen because I've got it all figured out here and in the description. Okay, the first big advice is research methods. Now, I wasn't a fan of this and I talked about this already, but it's something that is quite easy to lose marks on, because they're quite easy marks as well. They're easy to lose out on and they're easy to gain if you know the information. I don't know exactly how many marks the research method section is, but there could be like 2 markers and 1 marker, and that adds up. Like, you could be 1 mark away from a different grade. You have to know the basics because that could benefit you. Now, I know this can be boring, but there are ways to make learning research methods interesting, like watching YouTube videos, which is what I did when I had stats and other topics. There are so many useful videos out there now that kind of summarize everything for you, so that you don't even have to really think. You can like make your notes from that. Keep practicing research methods, because the more familiar you become with it, like the more you practice those questions, the more familiar you will become with it, and it will just feel kind of like second nature. Maybe test yourself each week just a little bit, like a couple flashcards once a week, so it's not too much. But especially if it's something that you struggle with, then make the effort to focus on that. Okay, the next piece of advice is to keep on top of the workload. And if you are making revision material as you go on, then keep up with it. Don't kind of give up, because you will thank yourself when you get to May or June, because making revision material can be a waste of time. Personally, I found, if it's very close to the exam, because it doesn't matter what you do, you just have to learn it. Whereas if you make the revision material earlier on, it doesn't feel like a waste of time, because you are kind of reviewing it as you go along, if that makes sense. It also depends what kind of revision techniques you use. But if you are making notes, stay on top of it. Do not like give up halfway through. You've been making those notes for something, so they will come in useful. And also, if you're struggling a lot with this topic, it's best that you do not fall behind, because it will just be so much harder to get back on track and to enjoy the subject if you're falling behind. So try to do a little, maybe once a week. Just make sure you keep up with the work, with the notes, whatever it is that you're doing. This one I think is quite important. Know the main studies. Now, talking from personal experience here, I knew my studies, but I don't remember what it was now, but it was either Ash or Zimbardo, and I talked about the wrong study. Know them inside out and like off by heart, and then just like the main ones, because they're more likely to come up. Like Zimbardo, Ash, Milgram, those are all from social influence, but have a set of key studies that you know off by heart, basically, from each topic. And also, if there is a study from a topic, it's quite likely that it will come up. Have at least some sort of understanding. If you don't learn all of them off by heart, have at least some understanding so that you can at least get gain some marks for the question that you answer. I've said this before, but this is my favourite study advice, and it's to use past papers, because you're basically being given the answers if you do past papers. Another piece of useful advice is to ask for help when you're stuck. I didn't like doing this in my other subjects, but in psychology I asked for help quite often because I had a wonderful teacher. Sometimes I was scared to ask for help, but if I struggle with something, then I asked for help, because that way if there's something you don't understand, the teacher can explain it to you, maybe in a different way, give more examples, give you extra work to do, or practice things related to the thing you're struggling with. It's very useful advice that if you don't follow, I suggest you try following. Maybe if you're scared to ask for help, maybe ask for extra work or worksheet. Maybe say you want to practice a bit more, and just general advice. Be nice to your teachers. You never know when you'll need help from them. Another piece of advice, I think I mentioned this already, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Get yourself a revision guide. I've still got this. I'm never going to throw this away. It's quite useful. This one that I have, it explains things in much simpler terms, so I often found that the textbook was quite confusing, so textbooks or workbooks are quite helpful. And now in terms of memorization techniques, there are a couple, and I might do a separate video, but just things that I personally use. I use mind maps a lot. I will show you on the screen the things I use. Mind maps, I just find that mind maps are a great way to organize a lot of information, and if you do a mind map personally, then you are organizing that information and it can help you understand something much better. Flashcards. My A-levels basically consist of flashcards, and I lost them somewhere, so that makes me quite sad. Flashcards were my favorite thing to use of all time, so you can use flashcards. If you don't want flashcards, you can use Quizlet. Quizlet was my best friend in A-level and also at university. So Quizlet, if you haven't heard of Quizlet, you don't know what it is, then I highly recommend you try it out if you never have. A2, in one of my first videos on here, of Psychology Study With Me, I did this thing where I wrote out a list of all potential questions that I asked myself to myself, and then some time after, when I wrote that out, I went back and basically tested myself. It was like a mini test I gave myself, and that was helpful because it literally showed me the topics that I'm fine on, or maybe it was a definition that I'm fine on, and it then showed me the things that I'm not fine on. So I highlighted those, and then like I knew, okay, this is what I need to focus on. But that was kind of closer to the exams. And now I think the last thing that is worth mentioning is 60-mark question plans. You can't do A-level psychology without them. We practice them a lot as well in A-level psychology, so I highly recommend that you try them if you haven't before. Again, it tests your knowledge. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I think that's all for now. Those are kind of the main points that I think are most important. Like I said, if there's something else you'd like to see related to A-level psychology or something else, then please let me know. Thank you for watching. Good luck if you're doing A-level psychology. It's a great subject. Highly recommend.